Assalamu alaikum everyone. Eid Mubarak. I hope you all enjoyed it. We're continuing with our discussion of changing the environment around us, and this is part 7, dealing with Islamic schools. So, we're not going to be able to provide Islamic schools for all of our children, but we can build the necessary infrastructure and financial and educational resources to keep them operating and expanding for the generation that follows our children's. We have to think 20 years from now and realize that the future is in Islamic schools for Muslims. It's not in continuing a paradigm that we don't really subscribe to in public schools, that most of us don't anyway. Okay? If we're concerned about the sex education curriculum and other initiatives, then we have to realize that that's simply not something that the public school system can accommodate. They will try. They are very good at trying. But they can't accommodate what our children really need, which is to put religion at the core of their being. What they will do is that they will accommodate the religious practices of our children. They won't build on them intellectually or in a manner that inspires the self. So you can teach, for example, outside of the public school, the value of having a hijab, or of lowering one's gaze for the boy. But the truth of the matter is that the next day they will be back in that public school with a completely different paradigm, and everything you taught them will simply collapse, at least in their heart. They may remember it, but they won't be motivated by it. So I'm going to outline some of the problems quickly with providing Islamic education for everyone. The funding obviously is a big thing. Parents pay more than $250 a month. Teachers are woefully inadequately paid. Some make below the poverty level. There is a long waiting list, not enough classrooms, and at the moment anyway, the content is simply a replication of the public school curriculum and thought process, and doesn't think in terms of an Islamic methodology. That last one can be developed. It's the first three that are more immediate. Concurrently, we want to talk about the goals that we're trying to achieve when we talk about expanding and funding our Islamic education system. We want Islamic education to be much more accessible, that is better funded, and with spaces available for everyone who wants to go there. We want to have teachers who are paid better, and that way we retain quality and experience. We want to have more Islamic content. We want to think things from an Islamic point of view. And we want to, of course, continue an education that is still, materially speaking, competitive with public schools. Okay, some off-the-cuff solutions. If you're sending your children, or thinking of sending your children to an Islamic school, start paying into a fund for that Islamic school education early. So if you're just married, start putting money aside now. If you're not married or don't have to worry about children coming for a while, start supporting Islamic schools now. We're going to look for grant money to support teachers in Islamic schools, if that's possible. That might be a bit risky. That is to say, we may be turned down a number of times. We're going to look at supporting financial enterprises that fund schools. We don't want to turn it into a for-profit system, but we do want to talk about what we can do to have perhaps an Islamic school funding, Islamic school trust fund that will be invested in the right things, so that some money anyway comes to the schools. And we want to talk about possibly homeschooling or school using a private house for kindergarten. That is to say, if a teacher has already paid down a private house, we can simply extend the Islamic school system to include that house as well. And parents having their children going to kindergarten can take their kids to that private house with a qualified teacher. Okay, so this was an express segment of the overall presentation. If you have any questions, please, the email address is islamicsexedontario@gmail.com. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and Eid Mubarak. Stay tuned for part 8, which is where we're going to talk about how to proceed with this initiative.